Welcome everybody to my little mini tutorial here on some add-ons that I find very interesting. This is the JPfep add roots add-on that I'm talking about, and also the Spout add-on for Blender. So both of these add-ons do some various different things. So let's talk first about the add roots, which is a MIDI controller add-on for Blender that allows you to then control the vertical, the horizontal, anything that has the ability to be assigned a MIDI key. So I've added in the MIDI controller. You do that by going into your preferences and you go into your add-ons, and you just basically hit the drop-down box, install from disk, and you go to jpfep.net. And when you go to that website, like here, what you can do is just download the controller. So if I go to my MIDI, I should have, let's type that in real quick, MIDI, there's my add roots. And so then you install your add roots. Once you install it, you just hit the check mark to make sure it's installed. And then once it's installed, then what you'll be able to do is actually it'll add this MIDI controller options here. There'll be two tabs on your little slider here. I believe you hit N if you want to slide it in and out. And then you have the option to basically control or set up your MIDI controller. So you plug in your MIDI controller. In my case, I'm using a MIDI Mix 5, or actually it's the 5 is the delineation for how many times it's been re-entered into the system. I had some troubles getting it seen by the system, or at least I thought that was the case, and so I had to unplug it and replug it in, and so now it sees it as MIDI Mix 5. However, once you have your MIDI Mix controller, once you have your MIDI controller set up, you select your MIDI controller, and then away we go. So it also has the option to do OSC, which is actually kind of fun, and it also can do BLE modes. I'm not really sure too much on the BLE modes. I would suspect to believe, since it has a server, it's just another network kind of configuration similar to OSC. The great thing about OSC is you can use Touch OSC, which is like a GUI form of touch controller that you can use on your iPads or your iPad minis or your iPhone, and then you can basically control things like a MIDI controller via your network, which is quite nice. But in any case, what you can do in order to set up a root, such as like we have here, where we have a MIDI control, I have my little dial here that allows me to control different things. I have a slider here that allows me to control the vertical and horizontal, and then I have one for rotation. I have a few for rotation, so there's one that goes this way, and there's one that goes this way. And so that's a nice little feature. And then I also have one that will actually change where the lighting is. So the lighting is now kind of top and middle, right? And I can move it to the top right, and then I can move it top like more to the left side, right? I also have the ability to slide it in and out, right? So X, Y, and Z coordinates, but I can also change the actual lighting itself. So if I slide this up here, I can make it darker in certain areas, and if I slide it all the way up, it makes it completely white. So that's a nice little feature. How I added these controls in is I actually went to the roots option, and then what you can do is you find the setting that you want to control or change. In this particular case, for instance, I had a series of different options. Like, for instance, I have my rotation here that's set up with this control here, and then there's another setup that's controlling this way. So what I could do is I could actually set up this Y control by just basically right-clicking and saying create real-time root, and it creates this dummy root like default, right? This template. So I'll call this, this is the rotation. So we'll call this rotation, and we'll call this rotation Y, right? And then we're going to make a couple changes here real quick. So we're going to go down to where it says MIDI, that's fine. The continuous controller is the one that we want selected. We're going to set this to be the rotation 22. Let me just check my little cheat sheet here. This is actually one that's already been set up. So this is actually the rotation X. Let me put that in. So I'm gonna go rotation X. I'm changing the wrong thing here. So I'm gonna scroll that one up. And so here's the newest one, rotation 8, which is the one I just created for Y, right? So I right clicked. When I hit right click and I say create real-time reference, it created root 8 here. And so then I'm going to name this rotation. Would help if I learned how to spell, right? Rotation Y. And then we're just going to make a couple quick changes here. So we have the index. We're going to change the index. It's set at 0. 0 is always the first thing in the list when you're using floats and integers in programming. They'll start, typically a lot of programs will start with 0 instead of starting from 1. So in this particular case, 0 is actually 1. I'm going to change this to 1 to be the second option, which is Y. And it says, actually that would be down here, right? Because the rotation X, that's the rotation Euler. I believe that's how you say that, Euler. In any case, I'm setting this to the second option, which is number 1. And then we're going to come down here to key on number. We're going to change this to continuous controller. And then under continuous controller, we're going to hit wrap. We're going to change these two values here. The top value is actually for your MIDI controller, and it goes from 0 to 127. But in this particular case, in the Blender, we want actually this to go from negative 180, because it's 180 degrees, right? And then 180 degrees positive. So now we're going from negative to positive in both different directions. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to receive instead of off. And so now when I rotate my, I forgot, I gotta set my, my event number. So this is the channel for my MIDI controller. This is the channel it's on currently. And then what I also want to do is I want to change this to the number of the dial. So in this particular case, I'm going to set 21. I had to find out what my MIDI controller event number was for particular things. I did that by using another program. There's a series of different programs you can use. One of them is you could use this protocol, which is also another thing that's made by TouchOSC that would allow you to see the MIDI controller like record what each value is. Right, so once you figure out which value is the value that you want to set to, in this particular case I set it to 21. Now when I rotate that number, when I move the dial, it rotates it in the, that would be the Y axis, right? So I have Y, I have my Z axis, and I also have my X axis. So I'm able to rotate it and really get it in wherever I want it. And so that's kind of a nice little feature. I like the ability to be able to control these things on the fly. And so I've actually created a sort of real-time, I'm using the EV engine, right, in order to make these real-time kinds of things, these kinds of adjustments. And then we could slide up and slide down to, you know, change the lighting, and we could move the lighting where we want it, right? And then I can rotate it, which is nice, you know, but this sits in Blender. So how could we make this, how could we add more functionality to this? Well, for instance, I could open up my Resolume. Just one second, bear with me. And then once I open up my Resolume, I can actually spout this to my Resolume program. So I'll give you an example. In this particular case, I already have Blender kind of set up already to go. However, what I also did was I added in the other spout control, which you may have seen while I was trying to type this in real quick. This is the texture sharing add-on that comes from Spout's website for the add-on for Blender. So I added this in and turned on the texture sharing. And once you do that, then you just go to your cameras. You select your camera options down here at the bottom. And then here you'll notice that you have texture share. Now all of my options are grayed out because my texture share is already turned on. So what you would do is you would basically make sure to make these changes. And as a matter of fact, I could do that now, right? So I changed my sender name from what it was set to was camera, and I changed it to blender. I also flip outgoing texture so that it's not in reverse, because when you do the spout output, it has a tendency to want to flip the outgoing flip it. It's like reversed. So turn this on, and that'll make it so that when it's in Resolume, it'll be the proper direction. I also changed my capture width from 1920 to by 1080, and then I just hit the start to the share texture. And what happens is when I'm in my Resolume, which is here, I have a spout texture or a spout output. So I'll go all the way down to sources. I'll drag this blender option up into my layers. And then when I select it, there it is right there. And the great thing is my MIDI controller still is controlling what's being sent from Resolume. So I think that's pretty spiffy. I think there's some really great, techniques or really great things you could do with this. And I'm going to have to play around with it a great deal. I've recently made some changes to my computer that allow me to do this at the same time using Resolume. So I could really have some nice, textured effects that are happening at the same time. And I'm very interested in that process. So I'm thinking about how I could use this to do some really great, really great things, really great techniques to really jazz up my my scenes. So here we are. I've made the background transparent, and I might want to add this overlay onto something else, right? So then I could just turn this down, turn this to difference, right? And so now I get this kind of effect. But in any case, the world is now my oyster, right? There's all kinds of fun stuff you could do with this. I just need to think about how I'm going to work this out. One of the things that I was trying to do in the very beginning was I had this idea of using this to use as a fake lighting. I eventually actually created a wire patch called Mapped Normal Lighting, which is a lower version of this. It was done in a 2D world using a normal map. But in this particular case, I'm actually using Blender with Resolume, which allows me for some very interesting lighting choices, right? So I think this is a very interesting thing. I just want to give a quick shout out to the JPfep, the guy who created the add-on for the MIDI controller, and the Spout people. Those guys are amazing. They're always working hard at trying to improve the Spout output for Blender. Thank you very much, both of you, for creating such wonderful add-ons. It gives me a new functionality to go with all of my other designs and thoughts as far as from an artistic perspective. I think this is gonna work out great. This is gonna do some really great things. Thank you very much for your your time in watching this video, and I appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments, please comment below. I would like to know how you guys feel about all this, and if you'd like to see more kinds of things like this, just let me know. Like, comment, share. Otherwise, I appreciate your time, and you be sure to have a great day. Talk to you later.